Hey family, I have something I want to share with you today that is very special. And I think you'll agree, especially if you hang in there till the end of this chat. I have this dear friend, she's in this fellowship group, and from time to time, she's a storyteller. Now, my people were always storytellers. Whenever we'd get together, the old folks would take turns telling all the stories of their childhoods and funny things that happened and sharing family stories, passing down stories that have been told to them. And that's something we still very much do today. We're getting into considered the old folks by some of the family today, and getting to be more so every day. And my friend Amy has similar roots. And so yesterday I went to the mailbox and I pulled out a letter, and she had written me this wonderful story to share with me. And she's a very talented artist. I can barely draw stick people, and she drew me this gorgeous picture. I just treasure this. It was like opening a treasure chest, and she gave me permission to share the story with you. And this is going to be relevant to the group, I promise. The first dog, this story is about the first dog I ever had. Daddy was an engineer for Alabama Power Company. He made a house call one time for a lady who had a German Shepherd mixed dog that she wanted to get rid of. So Daddy brought it home, left it in the yard, and then went back to work. No one was home at the time. Me and my sisters were at school, and Mama was at work. When we got home from school, we were excited to find a dog on the back porch. But then Mama came out with a broom and attempted to sweep it off the porch, yelling, "Get away!" But the dog wouldn't leave. Not too long after that happened, Daddy got home from work, and me and my sisters rushed to tell him about the dog that Mama had tried to sweep off the porch and was yelling for him to get away. Daddy laughed and said, "That's because the lady I got him from didn't want him either and would holler, 'Get away,' too, but he always came to her whenever she hollered at him, so she named him Get Away. I wondered if we ever confused the neighbors whenever we called him, 'Come here, Get Away.'" Isn't that a funny story? And she even sent a picture of the dog. Oh, look at this. That's Get Away. You know he was loved. That was a loved dog. That made me think of our dog, Pick. We named him Pick because we went to the pound looking for a dog that had run off. Ended up coming back home, so we found him. But we went to the pound and we were going through looking, and when we walked by Pick, he stood up on his hind legs and he did this. And I called it the pick me dance, like he was saying, "Pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me." So that's a story, Pick. But it's so important that we pass down these stories. They are treasures. And just as important is that we pass down the stories of what the Father has done in our lives. He tells us to pass down our stories. He tells us to tell the stories of what He has done for us, to detail them to our kids. Over and over in the Bible, we're told to pass down these stories, to tell the things He's done. And we see our spiritual ancestors doing this. I want to read to you in Luke 8, we see Messiah doing this. There was a man who was afflicted with the demons that they named Legion. And he expelled those demons from him. And the man wanted to follow Messiah, but Messiah wouldn't let him. He said no. He said, this is Luke 8:39. He said, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." Now, some translations even say, "Return to your home and describe how much God has done for you." And to me, that gives it even more meaning. Like, don't just say, "Oh, God did something good for me." Talk about what He did. Explain what He did. Explain the pit that you were in and how He pulled you out, how He wouldn't give up. Explain the miracles of all He has done for you. And with Passover coming up, this is especially fresh on my mind because in Passover, we're told to tell the story of what God did. Tell how He brought Israelites out of Egypt. And I want to share with you another thing. So in Deuteronomy 6, I'm going to read a long passage for you here. "Now this is the commandment." This is the beginning of Deuteronomy 6. "This is the commandment, the statutes and the rules that Yahweh your God commanded me to teach you, that you may do them in the land which you are going over to possess it, that you may fear Yahweh your God, you and your son and your son's sons, by keeping all His statutes and His commandments which I command you, all the days of your life, and that your days may be long. Here, now he's talking about all the commandments. We can easily think of these as the 10 commandments. That's essentially the summary of everything. It's the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments, those are kind of our 10 benchmarks here, okay? Hear therefore, Israel, and be careful to do them, that it may go well with you, and that you may multiply greatly, as Yahweh your God of your fathers has promised you, in a land flowing with milk and honey. And then Deuteronomy 6:4, he says, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our God, or I'm going to read the ESV translation. The Lord your God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. Ooh, y'all hear a new covenant in that? Ooh, that's the terms of the new covenant right there. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You see, teach them, talk about them in every conversation. Be talking about what he's done, be talking about the commandments, be talking about the blessing of following his wisdom, and the blessing of having access to his wisdom like we do. It's a wonderful thing. And then he says, you shall bind them as a sign on your hand. And that reminds me, I wrote a verse down here today, I'll remember. You shall, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, Like, be thinking about them all the time as if it was right here in front of you. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gate. Some of y'all have seen that door frame going into my kitchen that I've written out all the 10 commandments. Whoo, that's wonderful. That's some amazing wisdom from Deuteronomy 6. But now, we're going to turn to Matthew. Let's turn to Matthew here, because I got something even better. Okay, so we go to Matthew 22, and the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, and they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question. They're questioning our Messiah here. So this lawyer says, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment of the law? Now, they were trying to trap him. Okay, so we'll see as we go through Matthew, we'll see over and over again the Pharisees are trying to trap Messiah. They're trying to trick him into breaking one of the commandments, because then they can say, see, he broke a commandment, he is a sinner. You know, they can hold him up like that and hold that against him and help turn the people against him. But Messiah is the Word made flesh. He knows the Word better than anybody. He also never contradicts the Father. He is the literally perfect representative of our Father. He is our Father's Word made flesh, okay? I told somebody this morning, I said, imagine the Father and all the love he has for you, and all the awesomeness of his wisdom, his love, his compassion, his grace. And then imagine he looks down at you and he comes into human form so that he can hug you. That's kind of how I think about the Messiah, you know? So he said, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment of the law? Now, here's the thing. If Messiah says, oh, this commandment is the greatest, he's then discounting the other 9 commandments, and they can say, oh, see, he's holding up this commandment and saying it's better than all, you know, that kind of thing. So he knew this is a trap. He says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbors as yourself. Y'all listen here. On these 2 commandments depend all the law and prophets. What's he doing? He completely beat them at their own game, because he just summed up all the commandments. Number 1, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. Oh, wait, he started with, sorry. Yeah. So then over here in Deuteronomy 6, it says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. He's quoting Deuteronomy. And if you look at Matthew 22 in your Bible, you'll see a footnote. And it usually says Deuteronomy 6:5. He's quoting that. And then he says, that's the first and greatest, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And then he says, on these 2 commandments depend all the law and prophets. What's he talking about there? He just summarized the 10 commandments. And he just told you he summarized all the 10 commandments. On these 2 depend all the law and prophets. It's in everything the law and the prophets teaches us depends on these 2. The 10 commandments, the first 4 are how to love the Father. The remaining 6 are how to love our neighbor. Messiah knew that. And he was a storyteller right here he told the Father's story. He quoted the Father's words to them. You shall love the Lord your God with all your soul, with all your heart, with all your mind. And if you do that, if we love him like that, we're going to follow him. We're going to understand his teaching is life. What does it look like to love somebody? What does it look like to be completely besotted, enamored, in love, fascinated with somebody? We follow everything they do. We cherish every word they say. Messiah came to teach us that. He came to tell us the story of the Father, which we were prone to forget, and to teach us how to walk that out so that we can live out his love and his grace and his story and tell it to others through our lives, through our actions, and through our words. So I want to encourage you today. Tell his story. Tell what he has done for you. We cannot let a generation pass without hearing of all these wonderful things from our lips. When we're walking, when we're coming and going, when we're sitting at our dinner tables, we should be completely besotted with our Creator and with his love. Focus on that. Let that fill our beings, our minds, our hearts with everything. And so that it's going to overflow. It will overflow into everything we do. We cannot, in our own flesh, we're not able to love people the way he loves us. But when we are operating in his Spirit, with his Spirit within us, he can allow us to do that. I love y'all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let us tell his story with word and deed, in our behavior, in our comings and goings, and in everything that comes out of our mouth and everything we put our hands to. Let's tell his story today. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.